hasn't been the easiest go-around for Syracuse lacrosse as of late. SU Women's Lax has been on the road for 2 weeks and returned home to play its final game of the season. And it's just who you want to see at this time of the year. The ultimate orange kryptonite, Boston College. Uh-oh. As for Gary Gates' men's squad, they're coming off a tough but exciting loss to number 1 Cornell and head right back on the road to face a ranked Duke team looking for revenge. Both programs can't afford to lose, but can they win? Stay tuned because Cuse Countdown starts right now. Welcome into our CitrusTV studios as we break down two of the most anticipated matchups of the college lacrosse season. Avin, Nathaniel, Cunningham, and AJ Myers. Guys, it's been a long time.
It has. We got a new studio now.
We got a new studio here. It was an old studio. We were talking basketball.
We have to put the side by side.
We were talking basketball, and now we're fully into lacrosse season. And we got two really important games to talk about. We got number two Boston College, number 16 Syracuse. That's women's lacrosse. We got number 7 Syracuse, number 12 Duke in men's lacrosse. But we're going to start on the women's side for this show because this is the matchup that we wait for every year. It's always anticipated, always exciting. But for Syracuse, they might not be looking forward to it every year because it's always rough. It's always rough. But just like I said in the pre-open there, they went on the road for 2 weeks and they lost to a Yale team. That's a top 10 ranked team, maybe expected to lose that game. They go to California. They beat Cal, a really not great team in the ACC. And then they go to Blacksburg where they play Virginia Tech. And this is a team that's kind of in that Cal range, Nate. And Syracuse loses 14-11. So before we jump into this BC contest, we got to go back and look at this Virginia Tech one. A lot of things went wrong, but what stood out to you?
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, Adam, was the fact this team had 7 turnovers in the first quarter. That ended up being half of their turnovers on the game. I mean, that's kind of silly and ridiculous, honestly, for a team that's trying to get back to a national championship and win one. But then you also tack on the fact that they didn't notch a free position goal. They're free positions. You got to make at least one. They went 0 for 6. And then they had that kind of 15-minute stretch at the end of the game. It was a 9-7 game, and it quickly turned into 13-8 over about 13 minutes. So this is unacceptable in VT.
My biggest thing, and you're going to hear kind of deja vu with the men's side, slow starts. It was 4-1 at the end of that first quarter. That can't happen. And you mentioned the free positions, 0 for 6. You got to do better there. And then taking a closer look at those stats, Emma Ward, 2 goals, 3 assists. Yeah, that's good, but if this team wants to win games, she's got to get almost a hat trick, you think, Nathaniel, for this team to consistently win games. Adam, this is a type of ACC loss you just don't expect, like you mentioned from Kayla Trainer's
especially this late in the year, you give up 7 goals to Lauren Render there. I mean, 7 goals to one player. 7 points is a lot.
Yeah.
7 goals, one category. I mean, that's a lot to give up, especially late in the year for a Syracuse defense that has been pretty hot as of late coming off that Cal, and you expected them to compete a little bit more against Virginia Tech. I mean, clearly this isn't the same 15-1 team in the regular season from 2023. I mean, there's a lot of new pieces here, and this season there's been a lot of way more ups and downs. They've been losing close games, and they've been winning by very close margins as well against some ACC opponents that they'll typically beat. So AJ, what do you think is so responsible for the up and down year? I mean, I know a lot of greats graduated from the program. Could it be a roster thing? But what is it?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. The roster. Yeah. They got 10 freshmen on this team, Nathaniel. A lot has changed for this group, and you got to look at that schedule too. It was a gauntlet of a schedule. They had a stretch where they played 5 ranked opponents in a row, and there it is right there. Look at that schedule. I mean, that is a really, really tough schedule for any team. I mean, this team could be all seniors. That's still a really tough schedule. So, I mean, yes, it's a disappointing year. This team, this program has higher expectations to what their record is right now. But with that schedule, Nathaniel, cut me a break. I mean, you're going to get losses in there.
No, absolutely, I agree. And I think when you look at those losses, you can accept the ones to number 2 UNC, number 3 Northwestern, number 10 Johns Hopkins.
Right.
But it's like we just talked about. It's the losses to Yale and Virginia Tech that really are making this season bad. If you make those losses wins, the Syracuse team's 11-4. And that 11-4, although it's not a big difference,
sounds a little better.
It sounds much better in the end.
100%. I mean, we're going to have to ask the age-old question once again. Can Kayla Trainer overcome the ghosts of her past and finally defeat Boston College for the first time in 8 tries as the head coach of Syracuse? But it's going to be difficult to do that this time around without arguably her most impactful star over the past couple of seasons against Boston College in Olivia Adamson. She can help with the draw control unit. She can help on the attack, scoring the ball. But Nate, not having her on the field this time around, you got to have other players step up, and you've seen some new players step up in her absence. But now they're dropping these games later in the year, and you got to come home to a Boston College team that's going to put up a real fight.
Well, it's especially the midfield that was really successful early in the year, and they've just really been slipping as of late. That's a part of the Syracuse team that's seen a lot of success, and it's one that's just kind of faltered. Emma Ward is going to be the key staple on the attacking side, and when you had Olivia Adams in there, it was helpful as well. But Emma Muchnick was stepped up early. She's got 30 goals in the year, and she's efficient with her shot percentage nonetheless. Slacked off the last couple of games. That can't happen. Same thing with Alexa Vogelman. Really, 5 goals in the last 2 games is good. 5 draw controls as well. But early in the season, she was kind of quiet. So who's going to step up? I still don't even know.
Yeah, it's a question of who is really going to step up. And you look at Emma Ward, she's got 60 points on the year. Great. I mean, what more could you ask from the veteran player there? But then Caroline Trinkus and Emma Muchnick, they're next in line in the 30s. That's way too big of a gap. Usually you're used to seeing 3 or 4 players in that 60-point range. This time around, you're just not seeing it. I have really liked the play from Caroline Trinkus against Virginia Tech. That was her first game all season long where she did not get a single point. So she definitely had a down game against VT. She'll need a bounce back one against BC.
The freshman has been playing really hot as of late. Emma Muchnick had a few games in a row where it was 4 goals, 5 goals, 3 goals. I mean, she was really coming on earlier this year, right when Adamson got off the field.
Got to bring the consistency.
Right, but now the freshmen are stepping up. You need everybody to work together. One of the units that's been struggling all year long, it's been one of the main storyline guys, has been the draw control unit. And it's really going to have to be a unit this time around in this game against Boston College. Like we talked about, some freshmen have been stepping up. Megan Rode taking the majority of the draws here. But how are they going to have to play, AJ, to make sure that they can keep the possessions on their side?
Well, it's simple. They got to win them. They got to win these draw controls against Boston College. And Nathaniel, Megan Rode has been what seems to be the answer at the spot for Syracuse. She's got 41 draw controls on this season. But then everyone else, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's a few players with 10, a few players with 6. And it's nice to have depth at every position, especially draw controls. Because if your main player is having an off game, then sure, yeah, you'll need someone else to step in. However, though, that depth, it isn't quality depth for me. It's just lackluster. It isn't good enough where you can say, all right, Megan Rowe's having a poor game. Who can we sub in? I think Kayla Trainer looks at her bench and is scratching her head like, I don't really have a quality option to sub in at the draw control spot.
Well, I think there's something that you said that really stood out to me is that why do you need to bank on somebody else when you could have a specialist? Kate Mashevsky had 234 draw controls.
She was something special, though.
No one else on this team has more than 50.
Okay, you're asking a lot, though. I mean, that's a legend.
But still, there's a specialist. It's someone that knows how to win the draw controls.
There's no one on that roster.
In Syracuse men's lacrosse, they got themselves a Fogo, a guy that can win the face-off, and he gets off the field. Syracuse women's lacrosse, they need somebody that can win the draw control.
They don't have it.
And if they can do that, this team completely changes.
I think the opposite. They got to use the strength in numbers. The depth has to step up. They don't have the specialists.
But it should have been a transfer. I think this is an issue that goes back to the beginning of the season.
You can't fix that XG at the end of the year.
This is turning into no poll, our debate show here at CitrusTV. I mean, what's going on? But you're right, guys. Players have to step up, and if they do it in a committee, then they have more opportunities to go and win this game. But the person they really do need to continue to play as good as she is Emma Ward, the grad student, the veteran who's been here for a long time. She just surpassed 300 career points, looks to break another record in this game as well, the all-time assist record. Nate, Emma Ward against Boston College has been a sad story because she has been on the winning side, but she's played well for a lot of these matchups.
Yeah, and she needs to continue to play well because what she's able to do is facilitate with this Syracuse offense. And you talk about all those assist numbers, AJ. I mean, she has assists in every game that she has played this season. She is absolutely stellar at just distributing the ball. And those 41 assists are a stellar number to have on the team because no one else has more than 10. She has more than 4 times the amount of assists than anybody else on Syracuse women's lacrosse. She is just able to facilitate and create goal-scoring chances. That's what Syracuse needs.
All the numbers for Emma Ward are fantastic. There's nothing more that you could ask from her on the field. But what I really like, Nathaniel, is her leadership. She is the true captain of this roster. Every post-game press conference, she's always at the podium, always saying, some of the hard things, some things that she doesn't do well or this team doesn't really do well. I really love her character. She's a real leader for this team. And Avin has more on how impactful Emma Ward has been on this roster this year.
I got our most impactful player right here with me, Sydney Chan, our women's lacrosse beat reporter this year. Sydney, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're talking Emma Ward right now, the veteran on this team. Like we just talked about, surpassed 300 career points, going to break the all-time assist record for a program that has a lot of greats. How important is it, and how cool is it for Emma Ward to be up there on that list?
I mean, you can't talk about Syracuse women's lacrosse without talking about Emma Ward. She's been absolutely dominant in these last 5 years she's had at SU, and you said it. She has 300 career points over that. She's the 7th player to do so in program history, and the 3rd player in program history to have over 150 goals and 150 assists. And like you guys talked about earlier, she is tying that record by Katie Rowan with 164 all-time program history. But what really comes into play and what's really important is the fact that she's able to rank up these points through assists. That really does show that she's the heartbeat of this offense. Orange head coach Kayla Trainer has referred to her constantly as a quarterback on the field because she's the one that's initiating plays, reading the defense, setting passes. Yeah. She makes all of her other teammates better when she plays with them on the field, and that's really important.
It'd be nice if she would score a little bit in this matchup against Boston College, too. Emma Ward, we talked about it. She's been with the team the past straight 7 losses on the losing side with Kayla Trainer as a head coach. What is she going to have to do specifically in this game to make sure that she can finally get that win against a BC team that's been dominant for the past 4 years?
I mean, it's going to be really tough, but her veteran presence this year has really meant everything, especially with Olivia Adamson having been ruled out with a season-ending injury so early on. She has been able to really step up and play, and like you said earlier, the fact that she was a part of all of those losses against Boston College, 7 matches, she brings a unique perspective. She knows what worked, she knows what didn't, and she can really help uplift the rest of her team. And I think something that's really interesting about this, AJ touched on it earlier, is when you're looking at the 2 rosters, you know, Boston College is very upperclassmen heavy. When you're looking at those cumulative stats, you don't see a freshman on that team until you get into the 8th place. But meanwhile, for Syracuse, we've got 3 freshmen in those top 8 goal scorers in Caroline Trinkus, Melina Cotter, Molly Guzik. So she really does have more freshmen to play with, really help them, uplift them. And I think what's really going to matter is if Emma Ward can score first. It's been 4 games since Syracuse has netted the first goal of the contest, and I think that's really going to make a difference.
All right, so if Emma Ward gets on first, maybe Syracuse gets the win, maybe?
Hopefully.
All right, hopefully.
That's the goal.
Maybe we'll see. Anyways, follow Sydney on X at SydneyO_Chan for all of Kayla Trainer's squad's postseason coverage. Sydney, thanks for joining us. We'll be right back here on Cuse Countdown. Nate and AJ, we're going to break down the other side, this soaring and flying Boston College Eagles team. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Taking care of a family member can lead to plenty of questions. Fortunately, there's a place to get the answers, for them and for you. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back into our Waverly Avenue studios. Avin, Nathaniel, Cunningham, and AJ Myers. We're still talking Syracuse, but mostly now we turn our eyes to the Boston College Eagles, the #2 ranked team in the country, a team that has, we learned, 15 losses in the last 5 years, Nate. I mean, this is a team that is so dominant, and that's where we have to start because they've made 7 straight national championship appearances. They've won 2 of them, including last year. Just plain and simple, it's always difficult when the national champs roll into town.
It's definitely difficult when the national champs roll in. But you mentioned those 15 losses. AJ, I think what's more impressive, the fact that they have 90 wins in that span as well. I mean, this is a team that wins a lot of games and does not lose them. They know what it's like in that big stage, especially when it gets to the dog days of May, when they're in that championship fight on how to actually come out on top. This team has proven it year in and year out that they can win when they need to, when May comes.
This team kind of gives me a UConn women's basketball dynasty, a Patriots dynasty, whatever dynasty you want to throw at it.
Well, we don't talk about Patriots on the show.
Well,
no,
whatever.
the Patriots dynasty was good.
It gives me that kind of feeling with BC. And what I really love about this team, and I mean, this team scores 1 million goals. I mean, it is crazy. Look at their schedule this year. I mean, they're putting up 24, 20. They're putting up touchdowns in games, which is just crazy. And it just shows how elite this team is. And it's crazy that UNC beat them. I think it shows how competitive women's lacrosse is as well.
Well, these are two programs that played a lot last year, Syracuse and Boston College. So could there be a repeat? Well, let's dive into this matchup even more and find out how intense this rivalry really is. AJ, take it away.
Almost a year ago today, Syracuse and Boston College met for the first of 3 meetings. Yet date number 1 a year ago has significant differences to how this year's get-together looks. First, where they're going out. Last year was in Chestnut Hill, and this time around, the Dome could not fit any Thursday reservations, so the two had to settle for Christian Brothers Academy. I hear they offer a good steak. Anyways, back to last year's link-up. The Orange came into the contest ranked number 2 in the nation, while the Eagles flew in at number 6. SU fumbled the drink menu, trailing 2-1 early on, but nailed the appetizers, with Emma Tyrell, Emma Ward, and Olivia Adamson scoring 3 straight. While the main course got prepared, the Orange had a 5-3 advantage at the break. While the entrees were arriving, Boston College hit Syracuse with 3 consecutive scores. Although the 2 fantastic meals meant it was a back-and-forth second frame that included 6 ties. With the check just about to arrive, the Eagles asked for dessert. Rachel Clark leveled it up with less than 90 seconds left in the 4th quarter, and Boston College carried the momentum into overtime when Cassidy Weeks scored the winner to seal the 11-10 win for BC, and SU would go home feeling a little empty. But as Nathaniel explains, Kayla Trainer's group filled up pretty quickly on date number 2.
Well, AJ, although Syracuse took another tough loss to BC, there was still some positives to take away from that one. Despite the defeat, the Orange picked up its first ACC regular season title, which meant a rematch with Boston College in the ACC tournament was just destined to happen. So when the 2 squads did meet just 10 days later, the Orange hoped to finally take down the squad that had beat them by just 5 combined goals over their last 4 matchups. But you know that saying, you live and you learn? Well, the Eagles thought an overtime win earlier in the year was just too close for comfort. Despite giving up 5 goals in the first 11 minutes, Boston College's defense held Syracuse to just 1 goal in the second half. Add on 8 goals offensively in that same period, and the Eagles would safely fly to an ACC tournament title while keeping the Orange winless against BC since the 2021 National Championship. But Adam, Boston College couldn't do it 3 straight times in the same season, right?
Hey, beating a team 3 straight times, one of the hardest things to do in any sport. But BC made it look as easy as 1, 2, 3 in its win over SU's last year's Final Four. Funny enough, 3, that's how many goals Boston College scored in the 3rd quarter, where Syracuse scored 0, just like AJ's regular season finale last year. But this game had way more stakes. For the 2nd straight year, the Orange fell to the Eagles in the Final Four, just 1 game away from competing for a national championship. However, you've heard it all show, it's been a pattern. For the last 4 years, Syracuse drops these games, so if SU can win today, it'll finally put a bow on those 7 straight losses to a team that they want to beat the most. Guys, Syracuse, you hate to see it on that screen there, but I mean, the points per game, Boston College just dominates time and time again.
Yeah, they come out and it's almost like a rivalry game for them that they know they're going to win, but they still come out and they say, I'm going to treat it like we're playing for a national championship, because they come out hot, they come out on fire, they treat Syracuse like it is the national championship every single year, and I think that's the reason why they've seen more success.
Yeah, I get that like little sibling vibe with this game. You know, Syracuse is the younger sibling, and they're just kind of getting thrown around by Boston College because, like last year, I mean, every game it was close. You thought the little sibling had the win, but nope, big sibling always wins.
Yeah, there you go. And this is a team now that has a couple pieces still around, transfers they brought in a couple years ago. You got Emma Pinto coming in from Florida. You got Rachel Clark, a 90-goal scorer per every year from Virginia. She's been here for a couple years, was a big part on their championship team last year. I mean, they got a 3-headed monster, add McKenna Davis in there as well, of players who can score from all over the field, AJ.
Yeah, and Rachel Clark's absurd. She has 71 goals. That's crazy.
At this point in the year, too.
Yeah, at this point, I thought the year was over. I was like, what, 71? 71. That is crazy. And quite frankly, I have no idea how Syracuse is going to slow her down. She's going to score goals. She got 7 goals against Virginia. She's done that twice this season. 7 goals? That is absurd. I mean, that's something you see in like once a year or maybe once a few seasons. I'm in awe about what Rachel Clark has done this season.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about what she's been able to do. How about you talk about the 12 turnovers that she's had? That's it. 12 turnovers this year, and she scored 71 goals. Someone that can attack. But then you look at those I don't want to even call them, accessory pieces with how successful they've been. Davis, 55 assists. That's second in the NCAA. And LaPinto, she can kind of do a little bit of everything. She can do anything that she needs to. It's able to open this BC offense up, and it's almost incredible how much they're able to just attack from all angles.
And the key thing with Davis is that she had 9 assists against Virginia. I mean, these numbers they are putting up is just crazy, and it really,
it's like video game
numbers. Really is.
It's
It's like you're playing a video game with Boston College.
Should make one of those.
Maybe, they should. Yeah, they made a college football one. Why don't make a lacrosse one? But anyways, Adam, these numbers, we're just in awe about it.
I mean, we can talk about offense. Let's talk about defense. That's why this week's Cuse Countdown marquee matchup is between the heart and soul of these defenses. You got BC's Shea Dolce, the best goalie in the country, one of the best cage protectors in all of college lacrosse, and you got SU's Daniela Gayette, a rising star going up against one of the best offenses in the country. Nate and AJ are going to show us just how impactful these two goalkeepers are for both of their squads. Guys?
Thanks, Adam. This matchup provides plenty of exciting matchups, none more than the goalkeeper matchup. And I'm going to start with the Syracuse side. And Daniela Gayette against UNC, she had a career day. She made a career-high 17 saves like that one right there. And what I really like about her game the most is her ability to make point-blank saves, like as you see there. And she's still able to scoop it up as well. There's no ricochets, no rebound goals. It's something you have not seen from the first-year goalkeeper. This is her first full season with the Orange as the goalkeeper, making another really impressive save there. That UNC game was by far her best game in Orange, and she really displayed that there. But Nathaniel, she's not the only good goalkeeper in this matchup.
No, Shea Dolce for BC might be one of the best goalkeepers in all of women's lacrosse. She is excellent at stopping shots from all angles, especially though at stopping shots from the free position. She proved that last year in the national championship game, and that's really on the biggest stage where she showed out. You see early in this contest here, able to be quick and decisive with it. We're going to watch this one more time, and let's take a pause real quick right here. See where she catches it. That spoon that they call it is over towards the right side. She's almost inviting the shot over here, but as you see this play continue, she just snaps that stick down, make sure it stays out. She is excellent at stopping those free position shots. Well, Syracuse is usually good at making those. They're going to have a tough test against BC, AJ. It's not going to be an easy task.
No, it certainly won't, but that's all we got for the women's side. When we come back, we're talking about Syracuse men's lacrosse and their big matchup this weekend against Duke.
Back again. Did you miss us? Adam Avin, Nathaniel Cunningham, AJ Myers. We've been talking about Syracuse, Boston College, one of the more anticipated women's lacrosse matchups you'll see year after year. Now let's turn our attention to Syracuse and Duke, guys. Like we've been talking about earlier on between Syracuse and Boston College, two programs where it's close every year. These two as well, it's kind of been the opposite. A little bit of back and forth. Syracuse during the regular season last year, they go and blow out the Duke Blue Devils. And then this time around, in the ACC Championship last year, it was Duke that goes and beats them. So this is going to be an exciting matchup, and let's dive into it right now. But we got to look back at Syracuse's last matchup against number 1 Cornell. I mean, it was a feisty matchup between these two programs, and they had to deal with CJ Kirst, maybe the best player in the country for either men's or women's lacrosse. He's unstoppable.
CJ Kirst might be the best lacrosse player of the past couple of years, to be honest, with how efficient he is, with how effective he is. But I think the real thing that I learned after watching this game was that kind of parity almost, if you will, with inside the top 20, where almost any team can beat any team on any given day, is true, unless you're number 1 Cornell. This is clearly the number 1 team in the country. They proved that for a reason. I don't see a team beating Cornell for the rest of the year, so that loss, it doesn't look too bad on Syracuse's resume.
I don't know. I was unsure about Cornell. Their schedule, they hadn't really played any tough teams yet. Syracuse was really their first real test, in my opinion. And look, they did show why they're the number 1 team. They really did handle Cornell. And got to talk about Joey Spallina. I know people always bring him up in these big games. Only had 1 goal. That's unacceptable for a guy who's supposed to be winning the Tewaaraton Award. And, I'm not saying he should be winning it this year with CJ Kirst, but you got to get more from Joey Spallina. He's still got production from Owen Hiltz and Luke Roa, especially Owen Hiltz. I've loved everything he's done this season. But unfortunately, Syracuse, it just looked like they were a few strides behind the Big Red.
Tough to do much when you've got 2 guys that score 8 points.
Right. But you're right, Joey Spallina is like second in every prediction list of rankings of the Tewaaraton, and after a 1-goal performance, and CJ Kirst is so dominant, you have to think that he's running away with it. But we talked about some of the offense from that game. Obviously, you got Kirst, you got Owen Hiltz, who had 4 goals for Syracuse. But let's turn our attention to defense. We talked about the Syracuse goalie, Danielle Guyette, for the women's team earlier, but Jimmy McCool, also a newcomer this year, replaces Will Mark in cage. And despite some of the struggles, even in that Cornell game, AJ, he's been solid all year, stepping up into his new role.
Absolutely. He's had a great season. That guy's had 2 bad games. He had a bad game against Harvard, and he had a poor game, I guess, against Cornell, but there was never an instance in that game where I was like, oh, McCool, he should have saved that one. I didn't see that. It's okay. Cool off on McCool. He's a really good goalkeeper for this team, and this defense really likes him as well. Even the great quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts have off games. Jimmy McCool just had an off game, nothing big. I think he's going to bounce back against Duke. He bounced back against Utah. Remember, Nathaniel, he was taken out against Harvard. That was another poor game. He bounced back. Cool off on McCool. He's a really good goalkeeper, and he's the one for the future for Syracuse.
I don't know if I'd go really good, AJ. He's not necessarily a top 10 goalkeeper, but I would say he does the job. He makes the saves he's supposed to make. He's not going to steal you a goal. He's not going to do that. He's not going to save those really close ones. But still, Syracuse's offense was able to click. The defense was really good at sliding.
Nothing McCool can know about that.
Yeah, but I mean, when you've got 3 or 4 guys in front of you that are playing excellent, top of the line, and the Syracuse the offense was able to score as much as they were. McCool's got a little bit less stress on his shoulders. Against Cornell, he had to be perfect, and he wasn't. So again, is he a guy that's awful? No, not at all. I agree with you. But he's not going to go steal those goals, and that's important.
I mean, it's important, but like AJ said, if his teammates are letting them get right into his face, I mean, a lot of those goals are going to be really tricky to stop.
Cornell's the best offense in the
nation. Especially when you have CJ Kirst right in your face as well. Scoring for Syracuse, obviously important. We talked about Joey Spallina's 1-goal performance in Cornell. He's had a couple of those games throughout this year. So let's turn our attention to the SU attack, because now you're playing against a Duke team that doesn't have the same firepower on offense that it had in years past. You should be able to score goals and stay in this game if the Duke defense plays well.
Absolutely, and the versatility with Syracuse's offense, Adam, is what's going to allow them to see success. But AJ, there's 6 different players on this Syracuse team that have multiple or more than 10 goals, right? So there's a lot of diversity when it comes to the scoring. But this team can be really quick and snappy with their passes. Syracuse head coach Gary Gait has said it a lot, that when this team gets the ball moving, they look so much better than when they just try to stay out wide and shoot from range. Cornell did that. Cornell was able to get that ball moving. They looked really good. Syracuse can look like Cornell if they actually start to swing the ball, and you can get those guys on the screen involved.
Nathaniel, you're spot on. I think that ball movement is so key. If Syracuse is in a rhythm, moving the ball, things are gonna click for this offense. And a guy I touched on earlier, I got to touch on him again, Owen Hiltz. I think he's been the best player on this roster this season. He's Mr. Fourth Quarter in my eyes. If Syracuse needs a goal late on against Johns Hopkins, he did it, and against other teams this season, he did it as well. Owen Hiltz is so dynamic. He has just an ability to he has that clutch gene.
He's
I think.
Mr. Consistent,
He is.
too.
He's also very consistent. I think he's someone that Syracuse needs to lean on a little bit more, especially if they want to get a win against Duke.
All right. I mean, we got some of the best goal scorers in the country on this Syracuse roster. You expect them to show up when it matters the most. We'll be right back here on Cuse Countdown. We talked Syracuse women's. We talked Boston College women's. We talked Syracuse men's. Now we're going to the Duke Blue Devils. Stay with us on CC. We'll be right back. Still here, Adam Avin, Nathaniel Cunningham, and AJ Myers. We're talking Syracuse-Duke, this exciting matchup on this fine Saturday coming up. And guys, let's go back and talk about Duke's most recent loss. They end up falling to UNC 8-7. They had a 5-3 lead going into halftime, end up blowing this game. But they had 11 turnovers, Nate. They should have won this game. They couldn't hold strong against one of their biggest sports rivals. Going into this game against Syracuse, what is the feeling with this Duke team right now?
Well, I think the feeling is that when their defense showed up, their offense didn't. And for a team that's really struggled offensively, you need that offense to show up, especially when your defense is going to limit an opposing team to 8 goals. So this is a Duke team that saw a little bit of success, had a moment to really capitalize, and failed. And so when you're playing a team like Syracuse, you wonder if they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and Duke has struggled in these big games, and I talked to Coach Janowski today, and he said the reason for that is it's a lot of new. We got 5 freshmen on the team and 5 fifth-year seniors, so there's a lot of new on this team. That's why we've seen some up and downs, especially in the big games when you have more experienced teams.
Right, well, the last time out, you had a Cuse defense that probably this time around, and that's more tougher than it was the last time out against when these two teams played. When a Duke team that had Brendan O'Neill, all these guys, but now you have a Syracuse defense that might be even more tougher. Guys, I think when you look at the last time out and how explosive that Duke defense was, it's not going to be the same as this time. But that 18-13, AJ, you touched on it throughout the show a little bit. Yeah. They started off with that slow start, 9-2 in the first quarter. It was just a terrible performance early on from Syracuse.
It's about as bad as the start you can ask for, and they did it again in the third quarter. They conceded a bunch of goals at the start of that third quarter. They won a lot of the stats. If you look at a lot of the head-to-head stats, they won that. It was really just these starts. They won the face-offs, they won the shots on goal, they won the total shots as well. It was just the starts. At the end of the third quarter, it was 17-7. I don't care what kind of comeback kids you think this team is. You're not coming back from that kind of deficit. You just didn't need to.
And I think Syracuse was a little complacent based on the game that was played earlier in the year. Because let's not forget, Syracuse took down Duke in the regular season, and they took them down 10-4. They held Duke completely offensiveless. They weren't able to do anything. So for the Syracuse team to believe, okay, we've got Duke in our back pocket, we're going to be able to walk into an ACC tournament title, it might have been a little silly, and I think they maybe forgot that Brendan O'Neill was one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, they want to deal with Brendan O'Neill, but it's all about the starts. You cannot afford to have such slow and lethargic starts, because then you're just digging out of your hole.
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, all these teams are different. There's a lot of new for both Syracuse and for Duke this time around, but we've been saying his name all show. Brendan O'Neill, he's no longer on this team. Dyson Williams, another guy. A lot of key scorers for this team have now departed, Nate. So Syracuse fans are going to be expecting a whole new Duke roster this time around.
It's hard to really replace Brendan O'Neill, and when you really look at this Duke squad from what it was a year ago, you are missing 87 goals in 52 assists. And then on top of that, 218 face-offs when Jake Naso left. So there is a whole ton that you are losing with this Duke team, and they've really struggled to replace it when you look at some of those kind of freshman faces to pop up.
Yeah, and when I asked Coach Janowski, like, well, who's filling in for Brennan O'Neill, he chuckled. He's like, it's impossible, because he did so much for this team. Yes, with the stats, but also with the leadership. He was so much more than just a lacrosse player. He was really the heart and soul of this Blue Devils group, and I think that's one of the reasons why Duke has struggled. You lost your key piece, your main guy on this team, and it's taken a lot. They've had a few bumps in a road, but it doesn't mean Syracuse should underestimate them. They're still Duke. They're still a really well-coached lacrosse team, and a team that Syracuse cannot afford to underestimate.
Yeah, and this is, I think, the definition of a trap game
Yeah,
here, Syracuse. You cannot take this game too lightly, because if you do and you lose, this is going to ruin Syracuse's season when it comes to hopefully what could end up in May as a potential national championship appearance.
Can't afford a 2-game losing streak, especially this late in the season.
No, you can't rack up those losses right now, especially with how small the ACC is. Just 5 teams. You want to make sure that you're securing the highest seed in the NCAA tournament that you can. But AJ, you talked with Coach. He said nobody can replace Brennan O'Neill. But there's a lot of other players on this team who have departed who need to be replaced. So who are some of the other key players that we should know heading into this matchup?
I think there are a few key guys, a bunch of guys that got transfers as well. I really like the depth that this team has brought over, and it shows. You know, Coach McPherson's good at bringing guys in, and that's what he's really done, Nathaniel. He's brought in a lot of depth pieces. It's just now he needs consistency. It's very similar to Syracuse. I think Eric Maliver, he's done really good. He comes over from Maryland. He's got 24 goals. I think he's a key asset for this team. It's just whether they can do it at a consistent level and in the big games. They've yet to really deliver in those big marquee matchups.
And then when you also talk about Sloat and McAdory, what they're able to do, they may not post the numbers because this Duke offense has struggled, but they've got excellent hands. They are super quick, and their ability to dodge and become angular. How they work from GLE, that goal line extended back, and how they can kind of come around the cage to then attack in from the outside. It is excellent what this Duke team has been able to do when they try to, instead of playing, maybe hard and fast from up top, when they use the wings.
From a Syracuse perspective, it's kind of the opposite. Cornell of last game. Cornell was like, CJ Curse. How are we defending CJ Curse? This and that. With Duke, it's a lot of guys. You don't know who's going to step up. You're really unsure of who's going to have that big game. Someone could have a breakout game for the Blue Devils. We just haven't heard their name yet. Maybe it's a freshman that has a breakout game. You just don't know, and that's why that Syracuse offense is going to, or defense rather, is going to have to be really alert, in my opinion.
All right, one more question here, because we haven't talked about him all show. Johnny Mullen, face-off guy for this team.
He's been great.
He's been great. Do you think he keeps that up against this Duke team?
I think so.
That just simple? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that there's a little bit of a reason to be concerned because against Cornell was the first time where he didn't grab more than 50% of the face-offs. But yeah, he should see some success.
All right, we'll see, and we're going to keep guessing what's going to happen in these games, who's going to win, who's going to have possessions on their side, because we have our predictions and we want to stay atop the rankings. We're all doing pretty well, I think. I'm at the top. I got to stay there. Stay right back.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker. New from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And
as always, we're closing up shop here on Cuse Countdown. Adam Avin, Nathaniel Cunningham, and AJ Myers. We're going to get into our predictions and our keys to the game, but first, we're going to go a little bit of big picture here, and we're going to dive into the RPI rankings, guys, because this is the best indicator into determining where Syracuse can be seated in the NCAA tournament, ACC tournament, all those things as the year comes to a close. So we're going to look at the women's RPI rankings first, and Syracuse right now, number 11. It's based on strength of schedule, overall performance, You think they're in an okay spot there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an okay spot with how difficult this schedule has been.
Right.
In case you were actually wondering, their strength of schedule this year, number 1 in
Wow.
the nation.
It better
So
be.
To have 11 is a pretty good, and you talk about that RPI. It's an absolutely incredible statistic that the NCAA has come up with. It's your win percentage, your opponent's win percentage, and your opponent's win percentage.
Wait, Nathaniel, way too much math for me. I don't know how they get the number.
That's why we're broadcasters.
Yes.
I like the math personally, but that's neither here nor there. The bigger deal I see, look at that team up at number 1.
Yeah, obviously.
Oh,
yeah.
that's not too good.
You know it. And I think the big thing that you touched on, Nathaniel, strength of schedule. That's why you see Syracuse on this list. They've had such a tough schedule. That's why they've got that decent number. But, of course, Boston College, UNC at the top.
Yeah, let's take a look to the men's side as well. Syracuse sits there at number 8, a little bit higher than Syracuse women's lacrosse, but still kind of in the middle of the pack there. The men's, I mean, you see all those ACC teams on there as well. I mean, it's so cutthroat with Syracuse and Notre Dame and Duke and North Carolina, and then you get the ACC tournament. I mean, it's super exciting at this time of the year.
It really is, and it's a lot of matchups, and I think it's key to point out, Adam, that last season the Ivy League just had one team. It was the team that won the Ivy League. This year they're going to get more. It's a really competitive Ivy League. Princeton's at the top. They've had a really, really tough schedule, so that's why they're at the top there. Maryland as well, but you also got Cornell. Big Ten's going to get a lot of teams. It's important to note, Nathaniel, ACC, no automatic bid. Whoever wins the ACC tournament, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make the tournament. So Syracuse, these last 2 games of the season are really key for that RPI.
Yeah, that was going to be exactly my point, was that there is no automatic bid, and you've got to worry about some bid stealers potentially in the Ivy League or in the Big Ten.
Smaller conferences as well.
Yeah, if you are Syracuse, you need to win out. This game against Duke is really important.
Right. All right, so let's talk about what is key for all these teams to go to get the win. So let's go back to Syracuse women's lacrosse. What is the key for the Orange to get the win in that game against Boston College?
Well, I think the key is relatively simple. It's that you need to attack early and often. This is a BC squad that is going to come out. They are going to fire on all cylinders. They have proven that they could beat you, so you need to push them on the back foot and really force them to change their game plan.
Answer the adversity. BC, we've talked about it all show long. They're going to score 1 million goals. They may get to 20. If they score 3, 4 goals in a row, Syracuse has to answer. They got to score back, Nathaniel, in bunches to really show that they belong against this Boston College group.
All right, but Syracuse men's lacrosse, are they going to belong this weekend, AJ, against Duke? Give me your key for that game. How can Syracuse get a win in that one?
Again, we've talked about it all show. The quick starts. You got to get off to a good start. Cannot afford to go down 9-2 or anything like that. Gary Gates' group's got to come out with a lot of authority, get those shots on goal, find Joey Spallina, get him involved early, get him involved in the goals. If you get off to a quick start, Nathaniel, you're in the driver's seat. You put some pressure on a younger, less experienced Duke squad.
Well, you know how you can get off to a quick start, AJ, and turn your defense into offense. If you can string together a couple of good possessions defensively, cause a couple of turnovers, and then immediately go down on the other end and score, that's how you can really set the tone and make sure that this Duke team is afraid to almost attack it.
Well, it's the time of the show that we've been waiting for. We're going to make our predictions, but first we got to go big picture of the predictions from all semester. Let's take a look at our standings right now, especially our performers from last week.
Oh.
Streetcar went he's the 3-3 record. We got Sam Reese 1-1, Hudson Ridley 2-1, excuse me. We got 2 Syracuse picks. Streetcar, he hasn't had a great year with the predictions, but
he's had a lot of. He's in my position. I got to make a point here. He's had a lot of games to pick.
But he picked Cornell, so you got to give Streetcar credit there, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of games to pick. And AJ, I mean,
AJ,
not too pretty. 28, AJ. At least keep it single digits.
I've had a lot of games to pick. All right.
That's how you keep it single digits.
Me and you, buddy, we are at the top, and we are going to stay there right now because we're going to give you our predictions for both of these games, Syracuse women's and men's lacrosse. All right, guys. So Nate, I'm going to start with you first. Let's start with the women's side of things. The Boston College obviously comes in every year. It's always a difficult time. Can Syracuse pull out a win here?
I think Syracuse has no chance at pulling out a win. I mean, Boston College is one of the best teams in the country, AJ. And when you talk about what they're able to do, I think Boston College gets it done 18-12. The offense is just too much.
I think you're right. I think this offense is too much. I have 15-8 BC. unfortunately, the curse of BC continues for Syracuse.
It's always close every year. Syracuse always has the lead and blows it. I'm going to go 14-12 Boston College. I don't like picking against Syracuse, to be completely honest with you, but I think they dropped this one. All right, AJ, let's look at the men's side. This game on Saturday between Syracuse and Duke. Can the Orange get this one, though?
Nathaniel, I think they can. I think it's a bounce-back win for Gary Gates' group. I got 12-10. It's going to be a close affair. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I think it's a good bounce-back for Syracuse.
I agree, AJ. I think both these offenses need to bounce back from both of their losses individually. Syracuse's offense, top 5 in the country, a little bit too much. I've got Syracuse walking out with a 16-13 win over the Blue Devils.
All right, I'm going a little bit bigger here. I think Syracuse is going to get the win 17-10. Look, they had a lackluster performance last time against Cornell, the number 1 team in the country, and I think this time without a Brennan O'Neill on the other side, I think Syracuse goes out there and gets this win. All right, we're wrapping up shop here on Cuse Countdown. Guys, it's been a great semester with you on this show. Want to give a shout out to all of our producers, our EP, Dan Papillo, our APs, Grace Bartels, Jocelyn Mejia, and Jason Stalakis. For Nathaniel Cunningham and AJ Myers, my guy Adam Cohen behind the scenes, I'm Adam Avin saying so long and enjoy the games.